Now, the next pillar of openEHR is actually the clinical modeling program. And the CKM, or the Clinical Knowledge Manager, is the definitive place where you can find all of the effort that goes into clinical knowledge modeling. So let's take a look at the CKM. And there is also an introduction about the clinical program and the governance, how it exactly happens. But this is the CKM. And this is the home to about 800 plus archetypes. If you actually see the bulk export option, you can actually see how many archetypes you can download. Let's see. So right now we have about 879 archetypes, and we are trying to download all of them. Now, the archetypes themselves are, you can explore them here in the search right here, or you can just go by one and try to explore them. They are mainly divided into action, evaluation, observation, instruction, and admin archetypes. But that's not the only types that are there. There is also cluster, composition, element, section, and structure. But we'll be taking a look at it in a more practical approach. So, for example, if you're interested in a particular concept, so let's say you're interested in something like Glasgow Coma Scale. So you want to represent that in your form. The way you search for that in the CKM would be just type Glasgow Coma Scale, GLAS, and let's wait for this to load up. And you got there. You got your Glasgow Coma Scale right here. Now, this archetype again has been made so you can look at the attribution, exactly who published it, and all the contributors who helped make this archetype. So you can just by looking at how long this list is, you know that a lot of effort actually went into creating this archetype. Now, one more thing to notice is that there are versioning changes. There are versions in the CKM. So the pediatric Glasgow Coma Scale is in version 0. That means it's still a draft archetype that has not been reviewed and approved by everyone. But if it's V1, it means that it has been approved, and people are using this, and it's more mature than the V0 archetypes. Now, in the header section, again, we have all of the description and the purpose of this archetype. So in this case, to record clinical representations of an adult, to define stimuli as an objective assessment of the level of consciousness. So if you don't know what the Glasgow Coma Scale is, if somebody comes into the ED, the emergency department, and you want to assess how likely, what's the prognosis going to be, a really good indicator would be to assess the Glasgow Coma Scale. So it has 3 to 4 different components. So in fact, let's take a look at them. So if you just go to the mind map, it will immediately tell you what are all the different things that are there, and it even gives you a description. So the best response to test stimulus. So what you do is you pinch the patient, or you can give any kind of stimulus, and you try to elicit a response from the patient. So there are only 4 possible outcomes for this. There is 1, which is none; 2, which is to pressure. So if you give pressure, you are getting the stimulus. To sound, which is if they hear a sound, then they are opening their eyes, and spontaneous, eyes are opening spontaneously. So all of this data has been cleaned, and they have been refined, and they've been put into the CKM by health informaticians, doctors, nurses, all of them together. And globally, this is what Glasgow Coma Scale means. Everybody knows this is what it means. And they also have translations in about 5 languages. So the same concepts can be represented using different languages as well. Now, this is actually what makes openEHR very different from other systems, where they don't have much clinical content and they talk about the specifications. In this, the main secret ingredient is the clinical content, and we'll be taking a look at how it actually looks like. So I have downloaded all of these archetypes, and you can see that all of these archetypes, you can actually get them as files. So I'm just going to take a look at one of these files just to show you. For example, observation pulse v2.adl. So I'm just going to open this with the text editor, and this is an ADL file that actually describes the whole archetype in a computer processable way. So this again is the same exact thing as same archetype that's being used to render this diagram. So pulse/heartbeat, that's the archetype that I just opened up, and it has exactly the same data, but it's in a more computer processable way. So you won't directly be dealing with ADL files. You will mostly be dealing with tools that alter these ADL files for you. So the clinical modeling, that's mostly what it's about. It's about archetypes, submitting these archetypes. Again, you can upload your own archetypes and you can have other people review them. And you have a process of governance where people, again, look at archetypes, review them, and then promote them to the next version. So it takes years and years of effort to actually get an archetype mature. For example, like pulse is in V2, and blood pressure also, I think it's in V2. So it takes a lot of effort for each and every data point here to actually end up here. And the idea of openEHR is do not reinvent archetypes. Just use the ones that already exist. For most of your use cases, these will be sufficient. For the ones that are not sufficient, you can create your own archetypes, and you can either upload them or you can just have it, use it locally. But again, that's what the clinical modeling program of openEHR is about. It's about creating these archetypes and getting them out to the public so that everybody represents the clinical knowledge in the exact same way. So globally, if I were to represent blood pressure, I will use the blood pressure archetype, whether it's in India or in the US or in Canada. It's going to be the same, and it's going to have the same exact data points. So that is the idea behind the clinical knowledge, clinical modeling program. Thank you for watching. This video was part of the openEHR course that's available on the Medblocks e-learning platform. I believe that the best way to learn a topic is to actually do it yourself and learn by doing it. So we have a lot of tasks for you in the course that we'll help you do, along with more video content just like this. And if you're interested in that, please do check it down in the link below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.